What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and I'm back at it to bring you 40 facts on the universe of Warhammer 40k. We've been covering the Greater Demons, and today's video will do just that, covering the Great Unclean One of Nurgle. You guys can go back to the past week or so. We've got the Lords of Change of Tzeentch, we've got the Keeper of Secrets of Slaanesh, and Khorne's Bloodthirsters. So check out that creepy demonic lore. But for now, guys, let's dive into this hideous, nasty, bloated monstrosity known as the Great Unclean One. But before that, I will warn you, if you guys get queasy, please don't eat while watching this, because Nurgle's filth will infest your esophagus and you'll throw up. Because some of these images are pretty nasty. So without further ado, let's dive into this disgusting lore. So, the Great Unclean One is basically a massive, bloated, disease-ridden, necrotic, boil-covered monster whose organs spill out, and basically these guys are really resilient. They can endure a tremendous amount of damage before dying, and many opponents can't even stomach to look at a Great Unclean One, let alone get into battle with it. In appearance, the Great Unclean One is typically a humanoid shape that has intestines falling out, and it's very just horrific. It's also really fat and bloated, and it may even have smaller demons inside of him or nurglings crawling around him. Basically, he is filth and pestilence manifested into demonic form. Some say that their stench can even be detected from miles away. However, in combat, the Great Unclean Ones wield enormous blades and maces of iron, crude and corroded cleavers, as well as plague flails, each one dripping with pestilence of Nurgle. They often carry blades known as plague swords, and these massive rusted blades are said to be dipped in the foul pus and contagions of that of Nurgle's throne. Now, despite their completely bloated and putrid appearance, Great Unclean Ones are neither death-like nor morbid in character. In fact, quite the opposite is true, and these demons are motivated by all the trivial human enthusiasms which drive the living. They are gregarious and even sentimental in nature, and they hold their followers dear, some even referring to them as their children, and they take an obvious pride in their appearance and their endearing behavior. Even surrounded by the pitiful moaning of the sick and dying, they smile with pure-hearted benevolence, and their long, pus-coated tongues dangle from toothy, face-splitting grins. Usually before a demon is summoned, the mortal plane is heralded by disease and desolation on a planetary scale. If an incursion is left unchecked, whole worlds will go dark, their populations reduced by 6/7, their feeble leaders filthy, and their cities collapsing around them. Though it all waddles in the beaming, bile-sickened Plague Father, bestowing his blessings, borne along on a living tide of chortling, chattering nurglings. Great Unclean Ones are beings of decay and entropy made manifest, and before them, the works of man are but castles made of sand, perched on the edge of a storm-racked sea. Those that survive the wave of desolation that accompanies a Great Unclean One often become its faithful slaves. Racked by disease, bloated by corpse gases, stripped of their loved ones, and surrounded by the dead and dying, many plague thralls give themselves over to end their suffering, venerating and worshipping the very ailments that had brought them low. Perversely, those who embrace Nurgle's foul contagions are made stronger by them, their ravaged bodies injured to pain, and rotting forms of all but impervious to greater harm. The thriving colonies of bacteria gestating within their bloated bodies grant unholy regenerative abilities to their hosts, sealing gaping wounds in seconds and expanding ever outward, until the creatures that were once men remain little more than disease-racked shells, human cauldrons of pox and pestilence. To look upon a Great Unclean One is to gaze upon the face of decay, to realize that all things must break down, they must collapse, congeal, must rot and rust, as well as fall to ruin. That is the great works of man that will one day vanish from the universe, and the stars themselves will one day die, but all that will remain is Nurgle. And now that we know about these great unclean ones, let's learn more about their notable characters throughout the history of 40k, beginning with Ulker. Now Ulker is a great unclean one, a greater demon of the chaos god of Nurgle, and he is the first known to have engulfed the planet of Aurelia into a massive warp storm, the aftermath of which left the planet a frozen wasteland. Later, the demon was confronted by Moriah of the Blood Ravens, who fell in battle against this greater demon. Moriah's apprentice, Arzira Kairos, managed to avenge his master by imprisoning the demon into Aurelia, where it remained trapped until the world's invasion by the Black Legion began. As the Black Legion invaded Aurelia, Aletheus, the Inheritor, concocted a scheme to sacrifice enough Space Marines in a ritual which would break Ulker from his prison. Manifesting into the body of a Plague Marine, Ulker was finally set free once more, and he began to rip the world of Aurelia apart, bit by bit. Only through the efforts of the Blood Ravens captain Gabriel Angelos was Ulker defeated and imprisoned once more. And we will end this lore with the disgusting greater demon known as Septicus. So Septicus is the lord of the seventh Manse, keeper of the seven codes of life, and is part of the seven of the many plagues. He is indeed a great unclean one, and he is only second in command to that of Ku'gath, within Nurgle's elite plague guard. He was famous in that he often carried with him the glistening stomach sac of some unfortunate creature with protruding hollow antlers, on which he played on like a bagpipe, summoning a terrible sound that exasperated even his fellow demons. During the later years of the Plague Wars, Septicus aided the Plague Guard in claiming Ultramar. The Plague Guard then invaded Parmenio and later clashed with the Imperium forces led by Lord Commander Guilliman. During the battle, Septicus fought Guilliman himself, but he was defeated and banished back into the warp by the Lord Commander of the Ultramarines. And that brings us to the end of yet another 40 Facts. One thing I do want to cover that I haven't mentioned before is the Plague Wars. So the Plague Wars is this awesome Nurgle versus Guilliman battle, and it's just amazing. You've got like people dying, their eyes bleeding and shit. So it's really, really cool stuff. Hopefully I'll cover that sooner or later. I'm thinking maybe during our Hollow week, but we'll see. Don't forget, guys, let us know what other things you want us to cover, especially the demonic, the scary, and the creepy, since Halloween is really, really close. And yeah, guys, let me know what you guys thought about the Great Unclean Ones. Do you think these are the best greater demons in all of the four Chaoses ranks? Or do you think the Bloodthirsters can win out? Let me know who do you think will win in a free-for-all. Greater Demon, Keeper of Secrets, Lord of Change. Who would come out on top? But yeah, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Don't forget, we do have a Patreon page, an Instagram page, a Twitter page, as well as a YouTube page, which obviously you guys are on, so you already know. Don't forget to hit that like button, share, and subscribe so you guys can get more 40k awesomeness to your feed. As always, guys, I am the Sound Alchemist, part of the One Mind Syndicate, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.
Peace out.